anything tonight. So the microphone's there. So try and keep your drink that side of the table.
Okay.
Who's going first?
I think you should go first because it's your fucking thing. I mean, you'll be more prepared. I'll be the one.
Oh, the whole thing's that we're not prepared. So Daniel Hill, Adam Goff, 6 rounds. You can start. Go.
Time started. So
what are we chatting about?
I'm going first, am I?
Yeah.
Okay. So me and you are both quite motivated people. What I always wonder is, where does this motivation come from? Obviously, I'm interested to know where your motivation comes from.
Motivation? It's an interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think, like, in the traditional world, motivation is very, like, especially nowadays, it can be very falsely driven. So, like, social media, all the millennials are, like, ploughed by Instagram, Facebook, all of that. It's like fake motivation. You're like, this is the whole thing about life by design, is not life by comparison, because then you end up chasing yourself. What do you reckon? That's fake motivation. I think I know where some of my motivation comes from.
I'm talking like deep down, like why are you so? What I really want to know is what is driving Dan Hill. Like what?
I think
why are me and you, or why are you getting up at 4 a.m. driving hard, like building businesses? There's easier living out there. Like there's an easier life if you want it. But why is it that you choose?
I think probably like my initial thoughts is like two elements. One is I've got a very deeply grained work ethic. I've always been a grafter since I was like a kid. So I've got that work ethic. And if I'm not up and at it at 4, 5 a.m. and being productive, it doesn't make me feel good. Donald Trump says work can make you happy. It makes me feel fulfilled. It makes me feel purposeful. There's that. But equally, I think motivation is driven by like fundamental flaws that we have as individuals. I think a lot of your childhood is about, everything comes from your childhood. If you go and see a therapist, all they're doing is trying to get as far back and as deep back as they can, and then they'll explain, how the tapestry's played out.
I totally agree with that, man.
Do you think? I think go on.
Yes, absolutely. I'm glad you said that, because I'm the same. As I get older, I keep bringing things back to my childhood, and not in like a bad way, like my childhood, and blaming my childhood on stuff. I'm actually grateful for the experiences I had as a child, because I'm very grateful for the person I am now. I think perhaps there's a danger if you have a perfect childhood that maybe you might not be as driven or as motivated.
Well, there's that saying, show me a great man who bore a great man. It's like people who are born with, Joe Rogan talks about it, trusts for their backup trusts. What drive have you got to fly out of bed at 4 a.m. and graft like a dog for 15, 16 hours? But it's not even fun. I'll tell you what. Well, I think one of my motivational things about being successful was because I'm not like traditionally good looking. You're a good looking chap, like traditionally good looking. 50 Cent's got a good quote, and he says, in order for a man to be perceived as being as attractive as an attractive woman, so the way a man looks at a woman physically, in order for a woman to look at a man in the same capacity, he has to be publicly successful. And I remember hearing that about 5-6 years ago and thinking that makes a lot of sense. I remember when I was at school,
really,
because I wasn't like the traditionally handsome kid, you think, right, well, what do I do to get the hot girls, to be the cool kid? And you do the things of that. And when you're at school, it was like, there was things you did at school to make you popular. And as you get older, and then, business and money and things like that drives you to a capacity. Yeah. And every time you get those things, you realise that it's more the chase than the catch, isn't it?
I mean, I totally agree with that. But no, that's very interesting what you're saying. I think you're right. I think success. This is all about the why, isn't it? It's like, why am I getting up? And why do I get up and do it where other people don't? I think that's the interesting thing, isn't it? Like,
why do you think you are motivated? What is motivation?
Well, exactly. So I feel like there's a few things to this when I was thinking about this topic. So I was like, either I've got undiagnosed ADHD and I am just a hyper person.
Yeah.
And I should probably like get some therapy or some medication for it, because I've always been full of beans. I've always been a hyper kid, and people often tell me to turn the volume down. I'm too excited, right? I mean, that's just school reports at school. Adam has, disrupted the class. He's the centre of attention. No one else can learn. But I feel like when I'm in my zone, that's when I'm at my best. And I'm not always like that. Like when you went and put me in Lehman Brothers working for a bank, I hated it. I was down. I was sat at my desk in front of 4 screens, and that's not me. So I think motivation is when you're finding your energy and you're finding your flow. Like I like talking now, so I'll be energized. But I think I've definitely got some. I must have something to prove. I mean, that's all it keeps coming back to is I must have something to prove.
And that's the deep-rooted element of it. Like, why are we driven to make the best of ourselves? Probably because of fundamental things. But then you get a taste for it, and that becomes your thing. But when we talk, if we strip it down to like the sort of local level with motivation, everyone wants to have, everyone wants to be fit and healthy and muscly, and they want to be fit and healthy. But majority of people don't do their steps, eat well, go to the gym. Yeah. But where do you get your motivation from? What makes us get up at 4 a.m. and go stomp out 10,000 steps? How do we fire that flywheel up? Like, what motivates you there? When in your head you think, I do not want to go out in a pissing rain.
It's actually a funny thing. I've just remembered that I talked to a friend about the other day. So I obviously two grandpas, and I call them Fit Grandpa and Fat Grandpa. Now, we used to actually call him Fat Grandpa. He was massively successful in business, employed 300 people, made loads of money, private planes, private yachts, died with nothing, spent it all. But he died because of his weight. So for me, I'm very motivated to emulate him in business, but not emulate him health and fitness wise. Whereas my other grandpa's still alive, he's just turned 90. He was in the Navy, he's very fit, never been stressed in his life, still loving life, the happiest man I've ever met. And I want to emulate him for like happiness and like taking care of himself. So I've got this fit grandpa and this fat grandpa, and I honestly believe that they are like my role models, and I sort of aspire to be like them. Yeah, so do you have any role models that motivate you? Or like, was there a moment that you remember was there something that happened to you as a kid that makes you motivated? Like, can you pin it?
Well, it's interesting. What I was actually thinking about then when you were talking about having a visual, a real draw towards health and fitness. I like the idea of being healthy and fit and stuff like that, but I definitely don't have the same passion and drive for it you do. I do it more, when you talk about motivation, I do it more for the challenge. Like Josh says, like bang on, one of the best things about being an entrepreneur is you get to choose your own challenges, and every quarter I've started choosing my challenges. And it's like, that is my project. It's got a start, it's got an end. Like, first quarter was get up, give back, break a world record. Locked into that, smashed it. This quarter, for the first time ever, was to focus on my personal health and get ready for the shoot in August. So mine is more about the challenge. The challenge is a little bit irrelevant. It's more, can I achieve?
It's the game of it,
and it's definitely not money. Like, I was thinking that as I was putting my Primark coat on this morning. It's like, it's not the money. That's just a scorecard. Like, it's all the chase. We're selling a block of flats today, and it's like highly lucrative. But
doesn't change your life though. It doesn't change your life, does it? But it's the feeling that changes your life, and the feeling of setting something and achieving it.
And the motivation
motivating you.
It constantly moves. So when you've got X in your bank, you're like, I wish I had this. But as soon as you get that in your bank, it's like, not a wish. It's like, right, this is where I want to get to. You need money until you can take money off the table, isn't it?
Yeah.
And there's a big difference between wealth and relative wealth. If you earn 30 grand and you spend 20 grand. You are 100 times more relatively wealthy than somebody that earns 250 grand and spends 300 grand. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely, man.
And you've got to try not to jump on that rat race. Like, you earn a bit more, like Mike Tyson did. You earn a bit more, you spend a bit more, and you end up in this constant rat race chasing, buying things you don't want to impress people you don't like. And it's like, that R8 is sitting on my drive. I've driven it once in the last 6 months. Need to sell it. That was the stupidest thing I ever bought.
That's very interesting, and maybe we'll talk about that later, actually. But no, I think the other thing I'm driven by when I was thinking about this topic was quite a powerful word that I'm using quite a lot at the moment. It's autonomy. Like, I get up every day because there's certain things I don't want in my life. I don't want to have to work for someone else. I don't want to have to report in like a 9 to 5. I don't want to have to wear a suit every day. I don't want to commute. So I'm also I think creating our lives as we do in our businesses gets me further and further away from having to do that.
Yeah, definitely. I went on a first aid course about a year ago, And I didn't find it hugely. I went on it because I wanted to. I see a guy collapse at an airport, didn't know what I was doing. I was like, there and then, message Lucy, said, book me on a first aid course.
Wow.
Because I wanted to be ready if I ever need to use it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the most engaging process. I tuned into it, but for the first time ever, I remember watching the clock. And I remember thinking, I was watching the clock. I watch the clock every day, but normally because I'm running out of time, not waiting for it to pass.
Exactly.
I remember thinking, fuck me, I do not want to go back to a point where I'm getting paid to sit somewhere watching the clock.
Couldn't agree more, man.
Enjoying going to the toilet, just to sit there and think,